Okay. Oh, damn. Okay. I've really screwed up tonight. So, okay. I'm going to have to start again. It's very embarrassing. So, okay. I've been speaking for 30 minutes and I wasn't live. I was live on my broadcast software, but not live on YouTube. So, apologies about that. I am going to start again. Very embarrassing, but these things happen, I guess. They shouldn't happen, but they do. So welcome. I apologize to Carl. Carl was on the uh, on the live stream, and I think I lost him. So Carl, if you do get the opportunity to watch again, I apologize. And so this is a sort of a relaunch of the channel, probably for the third or fourth time for live streaming. And I really want to introduce you to my project, which is this $2,000, what I'm calling a pocket explorer yacht. It's an ex pilot boat from Milford Haven in the north of Bristol Channel. So that's in the Welsh side of the channel. And this boat was designed to take pilots out to guide the boats into Milford Haven, where there's an oil refinery. So these were oil tankers. She's a tough boat for a number of reasons. Pilot boat, which is designed to bounce up against these larger vessels. She was designed for the entrances to the Bristol Channel. So basically, that's completely open to the Atlantic, and these guys went out in any weather. And she's been designed with quite thick steel, the spacing of the frames pretty tight. So she's a really strong boat. And the other one too is I like her look. She was registered for 20 miles offshore. I want to do a bit more with that. We'll get to that later. And we'll see later, she's got a brilliant engine, a Gardner 8-cylinder, which is a real asset. So we're going to talk about the story of the purchase, where she's at the moment, and how I got her for $2,000. So we come back to the presentation. Right. So just to give you a little bit of a timeline, I was inspired by a friend of mine who, when I told him I did some boat reviews back during COVID, he mentioned a guy called Leo. And Leo has a boat channel, a lot of you will have heard, the Samson Boat Company. So he's restored a 100-year-old wooden sailing boat, classic sailing boat, apparently won the Fastnet race, I think in 1925 or 1926. I think he plan is to race it. But the point being is, a friend of mine said, hey, why don't you do that? And I thought about it a little bit because not friends, but comments on some of my reviews, I got some criticism saying I was an armchair engineer, armchair observer, which is 100% true. I was reviewing boats I'd never been on, and from my point, just giving my opinion. But I've really stopped doing that, and I want to talk about my own projects. I'm really putting my money where my mouth is, and this is my boat. I'm the captain, so maybe my views only count for me. But I'd like also to show other people interested in boats what a boat project is like, and help maybe inspire you to do your own project. And the lesson for today is make low offers and see if they stick. That would be the lesson. The other one, I would like to connect with people who have boats, interested in boats, and learn from you guys as well. I've had a lot of help from people from this channel, small channel, but really great people who've reached out. So that was the timeline. Did a lot of searching last year. October, went to the UK to visit the boats. November, closed the contract. December and January, I took ownership and did some work on the boat. And actually, I've just come back from 3 weeks in April where did some sort of more serious work. We lifted the boat, started doing some repairs, and put some anti-fouling down. So at least she shouldn't sink now, which is good. And we're starting to stop the deterioration of the boat. So what do you get for $2,000, £2,000? Oh yeah, if you want to look at the search, I've got a couple of videos on YouTube. They're pretty short, 5 minutes. I'm going to stop making those sort of videos. They take too long. I don't enjoy it, and I'm not good at it. But if you're interested, they're pretty short watches, not so horrible. So just on the closing, anybody who's bought a boat will know this. So I made the offer, sent a contract, had to find insurance. Insurance was a bit of an issue because, first of all, I'm in Switzerland. The boat's overseas, which is not uncommon, of course. But part of the issue was that she's not registered anywhere. And given she's so old, the condition, nobody wanted to insure her. So I don't have any loss value on the loss of the insurance. So if I lose the boat, she sinks. I take the full loss on any cost of the money I put into her. I was only given third-party liability insurance, so that's okay. But that's, I guess, you pay $2,000 for a boat, then what else can you expect? So get the insurance, sign the contracts, transfer the money. December, picked up the keys, received the bill of sale, and got the boat. And it's always interesting buying a new boat. This boat, I won't say I was really excited. I've been through that before. I knew I was getting something into. It was a very neutral feeling. But that first time alone on the boat in the stormy December in Scotland was, a little bit overwhelming. It's just like, what the hell have I done? I was just staring at the unknown ahead of me and staring at a very rusty old boat in front of me. So this is what I got in terms of particulars for my boat. She's a 18-meter boat, and she's pretty. Yeah, 80-meter boat was about 60 feet. So she's a decent size for what I want to do. So I want to do a lot of coastal stuff, North Sea stuff, sort of, maybe maximum 2-3 days at sea at, okay weather. I don't want to be in the middle of the Atlantic in a storm. Let's put it that way. Get as far as the Shetlands and the Faroes, maybe across to the Azores. Maybe, we'll see. I think she would make it. There's a few issues maybe in terms of the windows. That's probably my biggest concern. But in terms of other things, the seaworthiness, I'm not so worried about the hull and the displacement. I think she'll be a lot safer than a lot of these plastic boats that go across. But yeah, so 18.2 meters, 5.3 meter beam, 1.6 meter draft, and she's about 52 tons. So pretty sizable boat, and she's going to be a very, very capable boat when she's finished. And one of the reasons for that capability is this. This is a Gardner 8L3B. Now, this is considered probably one of the best marine diesel engines ever made, from what I can tell. These are the opinions I'm getting. And the more I learn about the engine, the more I tend to agree. So the only thing electric about this engine is the starter motor. She's got 2 starter motors, but once she's running, she's just running on combustion and on momentum. And there are so many well thought out features of the boat that she's, if you look after this engine will look after you. And one of the nice things is, you see the guy on the left there, that's Michael from Gardner. And he is actually the son of the guy who ran the marine section of Gardner diesel engines back when they were a concern, I think in the 70s and early 80s, until they were spun off and eventually closed. So he's actually got a heritage of it, and he owns the name of Gardner, or he's at least the name of Gardner. And he's got a warehouse full of parts. He's got a team of people who can recondition parts. They order small batches of replacement parts. So basically the short story is that this engine is serviceable at least for my lifetime, which is good. So this is hopefully the last boat I ever own. I've had 4, and this is the 4th boat in 10 years. So I don't really want to own any more. And this engine, if I look after her and get a service by Gardner, she should be fine. So very, very happy about that. You also see that's the engine room. On any sort of non-commercial boat, even on some commercial boats, you don't get engine rooms this size. So a lot of storage, a lot of space to work on the engine and fit whatever equipment you want there. So it's just not cramped. So if you ever had a boat before, I had a 14-meter twin-engined sort of coastal cruiser before. I had two Volvos, under the deck, and you got to lift up the floor panels in the salon. All this in terms of, there's always one bad side of the engine, right, which is a pain to get to. So this is great. Just open the door, you walk on in, and there she is. So brilliant engine. So talking about the offer, this is the advertisement that attracted me. This is Find a Fishing Boat, and I think a lot of people in the UK know this boat. Outside of the UK, my friend Nick in the UK told me about it. Brilliant website. It looks super simple, kind of old, maybe not well maintained, but that's deceptive. It's very well maintained. It's got quite a nice market on it. And they sell, obviously a lot of ex-fishing boats, but you find, a whole bunch of stuff on there. And the nice thing about it is you get a lot of conversion trawlers. So things that were built for commercial, tough stuff that may have already been converted to private use, or in this case, was in the process of being converted. So originally the lady I bought it off, so unfortunately she was a widow, so her husband died, and she was selling it, didn't have a need for it anymore. And that's another story I think I'd like to get into, men and boats. I think this is the third boat out of 4 that I bought off an estate. It's actually quite terrifying when you think about it. Hopefully somebody will buy it off my estate, hopefully not anytime soon. But I think that's somehow the nature of boats, that there's, by the time you can afford a boat as a male, you're older. And at some point, if you're into boats, you want to have boats till the day you die, like literally. So that said, the widow was selling the boat, and the boat had been sitting there for about a year and a half at least. It's pretty much, not cared for. There's holes in the wheelhouse, so you had water leaking in all the way through the engine room. Just absolutely terrible condition. Didn't really know if anything worked. So I took a visit, and again, you can look at the video on my YouTube on the visit. And the thing is, when you look at her, you say, okay, she's got good bones, good hull, good engine, but pretty much everything else is not good. Like I said, aluminium on steel wheelhouse, and there's a lot of electrolysis erosion of the wheelhouse, which needs to be repaired. There's a lot of surface rust. There's a hole literally rusted through on the floor. The steel rail which connects the aluminium wheelhouse was rusted through. Just horrible stuff. The electrics all need to be replaced. Basically, it's caravan electrics, not marine electrics, and it's just a complete mess. And actually, if I go back here, I'm not sure you can see it in this photo, but you see a little bit of it. There's just wires dangling from the ceiling everywhere. It's just horrible. So again, just very poorly maintained boat. Hasn't been out of the water in 15 years. So what I'd like to do is to take a look at the ad and just talk you through some of the features of the boat. So there we go. That's what I was looking for. So I'll just go back through some photos. Apologies, this is where I didn't start the live stream before. I was speaking to no one. Okay. I went too far. Right. So that's the boat, and that's her sitting in Girvan Harbour. I don't know how old this photo is, but I think it's pretty old for a number of reasons. She looks relatively fresh. The waterline looks pretty clean. It's free of mold. And we've got some features here on the front deck. So again, one of the tragedies of the boat was, look, and I respect the previous owner's right to do what they want. They wanted to turn it into a dive boat, and their idea was to convert this into a a seating area where people could, sit and get their dive gear ready. Now, unfortunately, when he did that, he removed a lot of the original detail, which was there for very good reason. And I'm actually going to pull out a historical photo at the moment, and we'll show you what she was like before she was a little bit butchered. I think might be the word. So there we go. So if I come here and get this photo. So this is the a photo of her in operation. Not quite sure the time. If you look at the sort of the haircuts, the glasses, what they're wearing, it looks like it could be the 80s, could even be the 70s. And what you can see here is on the foredeck here, behind where the people are standing, there was something there. The bulkhead is probably more or less where that guy in the red jacket is standing. So I think that was an entry to the forward compartment, which was probably storage. You do have a box here, and I'm actually seeing this for the first time. So maybe what happened was this hatch was moved forward to where the current hatch position is. And I think here, where you've got these two vents, that could be the forward bulkhead to the chain locker. And as you can see, there's no anchor winches on deck. I'm not sure what's under this blue tarpaulin. Maybe that was the anchor winch. And the other thing to notice here is there's no external railing here. There's an internal rail where the pilots clip onto. And obviously as a pilot boat, the idea was to get the boat next to the tanker and for the pilots to jump on. So the railings were put on. Here you've got steel railings forward, which were removed. I'm not sure why you would do that. These look really sturdy and really good. I'm noticing this for the first time, and I'm like, oh, why would you do that? But hey, it was done. That's what happens when you buy a boat for $2,000 bucks. So this railing was removed, and a lot of this hand railing, not all of it, was butchered and removed as well, which got to go back on. These man overboard davits were removed. Again, he wanted to remove the wheelhouse. This decking is, well, it was there, but pretty bad condition. I've removed it now. It was just wet and soggy underneath. So yeah, if we go back to the photo, the other one, it's the boat here is looking pretty good condition. I mean, one thing you could say that maybe he did do was, two minds about it. He removed this coaming in the back and he made it deck level. It's not leaking, I suppose, which is good. So you can actually walk out onto a flat deck. So, maybe that's good, maybe it's not, I'm not sure, but that's how it is at the moment. And he did put some seating around the back there, which, again, it's a little bit dodgy, but it's the right idea. So the back deck is actually quite large. It looks small on this photo, but she's a big boat. So, there's plenty of seating. But again, all this steel was removed. So, it's just frustrating, really frustrating to see. Okay, so that's the historical photo of her. So we'll get back to the sail photos. Yeah, so that's her, a lot of details. And the other one here too, you can see we've got fire hydrants as well on the front deck. And I assume that was safety because you're working with oil tankers. I doubt, she's going to put an oil tanker that's on fire out. Maybe it helps a bit, but I'm guessing, and I don't know, if somebody does know, let me know, it could be there to protect human life. So, maybe, I don't know, just don't know. That's all I can think. Spray a person down who's on fire, spray section of the sea to put a fire out. Just don't know. I'm not even going to pretend to know. This serves side on. This grey thing I think he put up because he welded on a rail outside the original deck, which he was going to bolt a new aluminium wheelhouse onto, which is nearly removed. I got basically 95% of it removed. There's one more section to go, so we'll remove that. And the one here to notice is the water line. I don't know when they anti-fouled it last time if they put the water line on correctly, because it looks like she's sitting high out of the water. And I need to find another photo, here. Yeah, maybe it's, that looks okay. I just don't know. I just don't know. I need to look up some historical photos and see. And I've got plans, which is a good thing. But at the back there, she just looks like she's too high out of the water. And, maybe that water line sort of curves up. And the front, it looks like it curves up. But that could also be the perspective of the boat. Just don't know. So again, out of the water, this is probably 10, 15 years ago. And this is just, something I really didn't pick up on. I knew that there were a lot of changes to the boat, but I didn't really pick up on how much. It wouldn't have changed my decision, but, as you can see, the steel rail's gone, the man overboard davit's gone, a lot of the hatches and coaming's gone, handrail's gone, you name it. It's kind of a sad, little bit of a sad story. Bow thruster was put on. The bow thruster, I haven't got it to work yet. I think it's run on the hydraulics off a PTO, which is a power takeoff, which is connected to the back of the engine. So you engage it, the shaft, the revolution of the shaft drive the PTO, and that drives your hydraulic pump. And I just don't know if it works. With Gardner engines, you're going to be running at about 500 to 1,000 max, probably 6 to 900 RPM, and I'm not sure that's enough for the hydraulics to spin this bow thruster. I've spoken to engineers in the boatyard, a couple of people, and everybody's a bit confused, don't know. So I don't know if it ever worked. The widow, unfortunately, she didn't know. So it was installed. I think it's a good idea to have the bow thruster, but I've got a few hydraulics problems there. And the other thing too, there's two hydraulic systems on board. There's one for the bow thruster and there's one for the anchor winches. And the anchor winches, again, can't get them to work yet. So we've got a few engineering challenges on the boat. This is her out of the water. Beautiful water lines from my perspective. I do like traditional boats. I don't like flat edges on a boat. It just tends to catch the impact, the force of the sea. I think, in my opinion, you want that force to spread over the side of the boat. So a rounded sort of design is a lot better. I don't know how she rolls. She rolled a little bit in port in the storms. That was pretty extreme. So, and again, I'm not quite sure if she's out of the water due to, the waterline looks high due to, poor painting, or potentially, worst case, I'm hoping not, some of the ballast has been removed, which would be terrible. And remind you to talk about the spray foam. So I think I've mentioned that some of the deck was put on with spray foam, like literally stuck to the deck on spray foam. And the insulation was done with spray foam, and she was insulated below the waterline, and that's going to be a terrible job to remove all that. But once we get to the interior, I'll talk about that, because the whole interior needs to be ripped out and replaced. Alrighty, so next one. Again, the rear. I got a survey done recently, and I tell you what, the stern gear is fantastic. So one of the things you want in a boat, you want a very slow turning, large propeller. So we've got this big Gardner, which runs at very low RPMs. You've got a very nice sized propeller there. We think it's an oil filled rudder, which never heard of before until, a couple of weeks ago. So you oil fill it to give it a bit of weight, but also protects the inside from rust, which is good. So you got a little nut on top. Haven't removed it. don't want to remove anything at this point. Tested did a bit of a test for the condition of the bearings. The bearings seem pretty solid, and where the prop shaft enters the boat, you've got a nice grease pot with a greasing mechanism, so she's not leaking any water. So I think the stern gear is pretty good. I do again have some hydraulic problems with the steering. The steering is so tight, really. Like, I'm not the weakest guy, weigh 90 something kilos, and yeah, you really sweat to turn the wheel. And if you look at the diameter of the hydraulic pipes, which are used, they're just they're too thin. They look like diesel fuel pipes. So we'll look at that, get that fixed. But that's the easy one, just replacing some hydraulic lines inside. But she's a good, nice steering gear. Got a nice ass on her. This is an example of some of the detail which was removed and added. So here, this bollard was completely removed on both sides. I just don't understand why you would do that at all. It drives me a bit crazy. So when I was removing the deck, this was all covered up with new decking, and again moved it off. The spray foam rips off the deck, and you can see the dampness underneath. There is a sort of a molding in steel where I guess this bollard was connected to somehow, but just completely removed. And I don't have a lot of place to tie up to between the front of the boat and the back of the boat. So this will probably have to be reinstated. So I could get this made new, welded on, fun. And the other one too, here you got a dive ladder. Again, the dream was for this to be a dive boat. I don't know how I feel about this. It's not too bad, to be honest, as long as it's tied up tight at sea. She's not going to rattle around. Could be a nice addition, if the boat goes anywhere warm. I don't think I'll be swimming in Scotland. I come from Australia, so the water's a bit cold even in summer. But you never know. I'll moor in Holland, and you get pretty nice summers in Holland. Maybe not summers, nice days or weeks in Holland. So it could be nice mooring up in the summertime and going swimming. So this is the engine room, the side on, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll take you through. So that's your Gardner. So we're looking from the starboard side. So the boat forward is on the right, and aft is towards the left. So this is your Gardner. So this is your air intakes here. You've got your sea cooling coming in here and then running through your seawater pump. When we got it serviced, there's a few things here. I'll do another one on the engine. I've been promising for so long about doing something on the engine. After this, I do have a YouTube video, the last of the edited videos, which I will upload. It's 5-6 minutes, which will talk about the first startup. But on the engine service, we learned a lot of things. So first of all, she's sound. She's a good engine, number one. That's good. But that said, there were a few problems. When I ran her the first time, she did overheat. I cooled her down, didn't seize up, which is okay. And that overheating came because you see here, this is a return at the top. You may not see it so well here on this picture, but that's a return valve to the cooling. And basically where it entered the holding tank for the cooling water, you had a lot of just aluminium debris, just dust, which was blocking it. So you should feel, if you put your hand on that bit of the engine, that return pipe, you should feel it warm up. It just wasn't warming up. I didn't do this. Michael from Gardner diagnosed that, and we unscrewed it, or he unscrewed it, cleared it. We got to warm up. So that's point one. Point two, you've got a heat exchanger here. Again, Michael wasn't happy with that at all. And the question is, the engine runs at 65 degrees max, I think, something like that. I think this one, when we get to temperature, it's running about 59, 60 degrees, which is, will give you some warmth to it, but it's kind of very lukewarm. So, when we see pictures of the other side of the engine, let me just go ahead a little bit, see if we get a picture of the other side. Yeah, you get excited here. You have these plastic pipings hanging off the side of the engine, which first of all looks horrible. Okay, everything doesn't have to look pretty, but you had these plastic pipes which were going through the most complex heat exchange system I've seen in my life, and one that just didn't work. And I will go into that if I got time a little bit in this video. I see Carl, yep, cracking engine, 100%. I didn't understand the beauty of the Gardner. I think to love Gardner, you got to own a Gardner or work on Gardners, I think. Oh yeah, JB, thank you very much. Yeah, the website is down. I'll remove the link. We're actually going to rebuild it. I'm actually building a boating app at the moment, and we need to rebuild all that. So thank you for pointing that out. I'll remove that link. I appreciate that a lot. So yeah, come back here. So we'll remove this and probably put some straight copper or just some radiator hose in the short term. Be removed. Now, I think it's cylinder 3 is leaking, or cylinder 3 or 4. I'm not really sure. So if you look behind here, you see just you know, it looks like a stalactite in a cave. It's just been leaking for a long time. Now, the good thing is you've got this leak port. Apparently, there are 3 seals at the bottom of the piston. In the chat, correct me. I know we've got a Gardner engineer in the chat, so correct me here, but as I understand, you've got 3 seals. You've got a seal for the water. At the bottom, you've got a seal for the oil, and in between, I think if either of them leak, that's your fallback protection. Now we got water leaking through, and they obviously will fail. And the way on a Gardner engine you tell if you need to service it is you've got a hole. If that hole starts leaking water, your seals are done. So you can pull the piston and replace it. So I'll get Michael to come back and replace that piston, just that one piston for now. And the other thing I learned was if one goes, all the others are going to go. So at some point, probably in the next 12 months, the whole pistons need to be pulled, probably the sleeves replaced or serviced, or the seals redone, which will be an expensive job, but in my mind will give me peace of mind for the trips I want to do. We should have a reliable engine. And I will know the state of the engine, and it should last. I don't know how long that lasts. I'm not going to use it like a workboat, so maybe it lasts 10 years, maybe it lasts my lifetime. I don't know. So that's one of the big jobs that has to be done. What else was there? Yeah, we've got a leak somewhere in the exhaust. So you've got your exhaust system here, and this is leaking. I think it's just leaking from here. I tried to remove this. I believe this is a container to just collect water that drips from your exhaust. I'm not sure. When I tried to remove it, I hammered this handle and it just literally just bent off. It's just such bad condition. So again, this all needs to be checked, and I've asked the boatyard guys if they can take a look at it while I'm gone. If not, I will pull it apart myself, I guess. We'll see. Another one to notice is you've got this ladder forward of the engine. Now that was meant to go through a hatch into the new steering house, and it never went through the deck, thank God. But he put this in place anyhow. So I've removed this now, which is good, which cleans up the engine room. And the other one too here is you got this false floor. And this false floor is a little bit concerning. And what I will do is I've got a nice video from the trip and maybe this is actually a good time to take a look at some of the videos of the engine running. Yeah, here it is. So I'm going to open this up. Let me just, it's just opening. So this floor is a false floor, right? And so you've got a service shaft forward of the engine. I will just play that again and pause it. So there's a couple of things to talk about here. So you've got this false floor which was raised, and that was put in again not for any sort of good engineering reasons. It was put in to give access to the forward compartment. So there was no door through the forward bulkhead. You could only access from the deck. Now you got 4 berths in there. It's pretty big. It's pretty nice. Don't get me wrong. But this floor was put there for aesthetic reasons. And one of the locals said that the guy was thinking about actually moving that bulkhead back into the engine room, so you have a bigger forward cabin. Now, what he's done is he's put, some steel rails. The name ships, escapes me, some steel flooring there, and just put it with his plywood. Now, the problem with that is this plywood is not so sturdy. And I don't know about you, I don't want to be slipping through and falling onto a drive shaft running at 800 RPM. So that has to be replaced. And there was some sort of, guard on there. But, that has to be rebuilt. So this will be all removed. We'll go back to the original floor and put some guarding on that. And the other one too here is, and Carl, if you're in the chat, interests your view. You see here, you've got this electronic clutch, and that's for the hydraulic pump for the anchor. And they put on a flywheel on the camshaft. So when the Gardner guy saw this, he was like, "You got to remove that. That's pretty bad." And again, I'm no engineer, but I'm guessing, the camshaft is all about timing and putting some load on it where, it's not designed to be, could, screw up your engine greatly. I don't know if it could destroy your engine, maybe, but it's not a good idea. So this has been removed. Now on the next service, apparently there's a cap which goes over the end of that. So you've got the camshaft here, and you've got the service shaft here forward of the engine. So that's basically runs directly through to the propeller shaft or to the gearbox, I guess. So again, this will have to be removed, and this flywheel will have to be put on the service shaft, and all of this stuff relocated. But again, that's part of the, what happens when you get a $2,000 boat. Let me see if I've got one here of the engine running. So Carl says, pull the piston, pull the liners, left in the liner seal guarders, used to put grey paint. Okay. So Carl, could a fool like me do that, do you think? Or do I need an expert? Let me know. So that's the engine running. We had the tops off the cylinders. So she runs pretty well, but the fuel pump there you can see on the side. So basically that's the throttle. We need to replace that. So she gets stuck. So Gardner has a service replace program. So he'll come back, bring a serviced one, and basically swap it out, which is good. So yeah, she runs. And again, when she gets up to temperature, and this was the thing that surprised me. Again, I've never had this style of engine before, but to get her up to temperature takes about 30 to 45 minutes at running at her. So we had her running in port in reverse, and really it takes a long time. So when she runs, the super clear exhaust, and I might have a video of that somewhere. But yeah, I mean, when she first started, the engine room was smoky. I think that's just all the oil burning off the engine. She was pumping a hell of a lot of smoke out of the smokestacks, which again, another point I like the boat. She's got smokestacks, not exhaust close to the water. But once she's at temperature, like just really clean exhaust, like so clean, you couldn't even see it. The only way you knew the engine was running, you could see that heat shimmer at the right angles. But just, absolutely brilliant. So, again, yeah, thanks, Carl. Carl agrees, shouldn't be fitted to the camshaft. So, but, I'll go back to the presentation now, or to the website now, but one thing that was done on this trip, so we know the engine's good. We know what has to be fixed. I'm glad I didn't pay any more for her than I did, because the expensive project just would have been more expensive. So that's good. We've got a good engine. So again, there we are, Manchester, made in England, back where England used to produce things. And you go, again, not to get too distracted, but it's, we're losing a generation of very good British engineers, and we're losing a lot of this machinery. So, I'm proud to own this, and I'm proud that I will look after it, and I'm proud to give business to Gardner, who actually, helps me. But their job, they're a commercial business, but there's a heritage business there. And if you just look at the quality of this engine and some of the pumps and just what I've got on this boat is brilliant. It's all serviceable, right? It's all serviceable. It's high quality. And this boat, bit sad it was butchered, but I want to make this a modern classic. So I really want to preserve it, keep the look and preserve the equipment as much as possible, but obviously upgrade the bits which need to be upgraded. So yeah, good on you, Gardner. Good on you, England or the UK, the Scottish, whoever they are. I don't want to get into that debate about identity, but yeah, we've really lost something there. And again, the other thing is too, with these silly climate laws, they're putting people to sea with engines which are not as reliable or safe as these engines, because to meet the climate standards, you need all the electronics. If the electronics go, you can't service it. Right, view of the wheelhouse, you can see this. So, you might pick up a few things here. It's a complete mess. The wiring is horrible. You see, it's just horrible. So all this has to be rewired. You got caravan inverters on it. I like a nice Victron or just a single box, which does everything. On the left, you got a dive compressor, which I'm trying to get rid of. I'll just put on eBay for an auction. What else we got here? We've got the exhaust. Oh yeah, this is the other thing. None of the alarms work on the engine. So I think you got these oil pressure alarms. Usually when you start an engine, all your alarms go off. That's not working. So I've got to find an electrician to come in, or maybe there's an electrician who knows how to work on this. If you do, let me know. Got to basically pull it apart, and we need to diagnose that. Up here, this box, this is the hydraulics for the anchor winch, and I think I've also got a hydraulic winch on the back deck. It looks that way. Yeah, so it's pretty messy. I want to make this pristine, or as pristine as I can. Could be a really beautiful engine room, absolutely. And you look here, just some of this framing, right? Like just look how thick that is. That's amazing. So really, really super strong boat. Another view, we've seen this. So again, these heat exchangers will get removed. You can just see the absolute disorder of the engine room. It's starting to look a bit clean. So again, this is the forward ladder, which has now been removed. And you can see here, luckily they didn't cut through these frames. So, these were cut around it. This will all be removed. And on the front deck, they sort of used U-bolt. I'm not sure. I think they drilled U-bolts through the top of the deck to hold these in places while they did the weld. So this all has to be removed. The U-bolts removed, those holes patched. And to be honest, I think I got it in time to save her. Who knows what she would have looked like, after that job was done. There's a funny story in the back corner there. You can see there's a generator. It's a pretty good Kubota generator, and she was overheating. And I worked out why, because there's two heat exchangers. There's one about there, and there's one below the deck level. And you've got a C inlet valve which runs under the engine to the heat exchanger, and then you got a pump which the generator drives a sea pump which drives your seawater through. But what was happening was this heat exchanger here, that was cooling the house water, okay? And then you had warm house water coming in at 60 degrees, doing a heat exchange with the radiator fluid. So even before you started the radiator, your heat exchanger was at 65 degrees. So it was just absolutely crazy, right? So I think the idea was that the radiator should be, cooling, you're taking heat out of the engine to get your warm house water, but it just was completely wrong. So she was overheating, and I couldn't work out why, but when we pulled out probably 20, 30 meters of piping, and just got rid of this silly system, we worked it out. So we had heat exchangers running off the main engine, we had it running off the generator, we had it running off the dive compressor and running off the generator. So I don't know why you would need that unless you're taking hot showers 24 hours a day. It was just absolutely crazy stuff. So that's basically all removed, and I'm not going to have heat exchangers at all. You've got a big Gardner there that can charge your batteries. So we're just going to heat it off the house batteries. Historic photo of the boat. I think I showed that one before, just briefly. So, you know, green boat. Don't like the angle. She looks a bit stubby, to be honest, in this photo. If I actually, what have I done? Have I changed? I should be on web. What have I done? Apologies. I've yeah, web. Okay. Okay, I might have to go back to. Oh, I see. I was sharing the wrong. Somehow I changed. Sorry, guys. Somehow I changed Windows. Yeah. Okay. So let's get upstairs out of the engine room and into above decks. So again here, it's all a bit sad, but at the same time, I bought her at the right time. So the wheelhouse has been completely stripped. So maybe it's not a bad thing because she was very industrial, linoleum floors, you know, very functional. And, you know, it's been completely stripped. So it gives me an opportunity to build her how I want. So one of the first things I'll do to make her comfortable is to fit out the above decks. And I might even just fit out the steering house first. So I need, you know, seating area for me and for crew. Maybe a little kitchen area. It's nice having a fridge and a coffee while you're at sea. I'll move a chart table forward, and it's pretty big. I might see if I get a little like L lounge in one of the corners as well for passengers. But it's pretty big steering house. I do like this seat. It's kind of got historic value. It's not the most comfortable seat, so I don't know if this will survive. I really love the Recaro seats. They're very expensive, but sometimes you can pick up cheap secondhand. So we'll see. Having a comfortable seat is great with a cup of coffee and good electronics. The other thing about this is the view is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So she was a pilot boat. So you've got to be able to see as you're getting next to the boat. So you can actually see down over the edge of the deck. And also in the rear of the wheelhouse, we'll see if there's a photo. You can see over the rear wheelhouse. So very visible. But one of the things I'm not sure about is these are pretty big windows to go out in the ocean in, right? So I'll be very comfortable for, you know, good weather, a couple of days at sea, you know, crossing the channel, going up to Norway, whatever it is. But, you know, this is not built to be out in the middle of the ocean in the middle of a storm for a number of reasons. So, you know, I'll keep this as it is and we'll see how we go, but maybe in the future there's something I can do to do more seaworthy windows, or, you know, you can put these grates on to protect your windows if you ever do get in a big storm. We'll have to see, but safety first, absolutely safety first. Yeah, Carl, I get you. Yeah, absolutely about the servicing. It's a really great engine room for those sort of things. This is the rear of the wheelhouse. It's not the biggest, to be honest, but I've had smaller. And so a couple of the features here just point out. You can see here they cut the aluminium away. So you got these deck port lights. So originally this was open and this was all enclosed in aluminium. So the idea was you had lighting, natural lighting for down below. But again, he was going to remove it, have flat deck. I actually don't mind that too much. If it was there, I would have left it, but I'm going to remove these port lights. So there's just an opportunity to leak. And for the wheelhouse repair, I'm waiting for a quote from a local engineer. And basically the forward wheelhouse is okay. It looks like it was repaired at some point, but you got a lot of rots. So you can see, you probably can't see it so well on this photo, but you got a lot of rot here, which the aluminium just, you know, crumbles away. So what we're going to do is probably take about a foot of aluminium, maybe up to the top of the deck lights, off around the back of the wheelhouse. Has to be re-welded on and then re-bolted with stainless steel insulation between them two. So I don't know quite exactly how it works. I'm waiting for the quote and a couple of pictures. But basically, this has to be re-insulated, otherwise it's going to replace. Got a recommendation from a steel welder to just replace the whole thing in steel, which I'm not against necessarily, but it's a big step to take at this stage, and is obviously would be a lot more expensive than repairing it. So that's to be done. You can't see it here, but about where the camera is, there's a hole through the engine room because it was flooding. We reseated the windows. These windows didn't have bolts in them. So Nick, thank you. If you're watching, we did the job. So it's a big job, took pretty much all day to do it. A lot of bolts. So we reseated it with this butane filler. Butane, is it? I maybe get it wrong, but mastic, I think it's called. I got that tip from the lifeboat there, asked them what they used, and so I use the same thing. So now it's sealed. I don't get any leaking in the window, so I'm very happy about that. Yeah, so that's it. So it's really, really rusty. And here you can see they were going to put a ladder here in this very small hole. I immediately, in the center here, sort of where these life jackets are, you've got the original, I call it a hole, what's the word? Entrance to below. So that's been reinstated now. And I don't know what to do here. I could have an escape hatch. I could have, just maybe like one of these pulley system to drop supplies down below. I don't really know, but chances are I'll probably just get filled in. So the plan will be, I'm going to have a big sofa here, hopefully comfortable enough, like a very, very comfortable sofa, not one of these boat sofas, which you feel like you're sitting upright, you can't relax. So it's nice to be able to actually lie out on a sofa and feel comfortable. That's one of the nice things of a boat. Here you've got the entrance here, but there was originally a wet locker here for all the your rain gear. I'll reinstate that. In the back corner, originally there was a chart table. I'm not going to put a chart table there. I think I'll just put some seating there, but currently the ladder goes from aft forward, right? So what I'm thinking about doing is having a reversible ladder. So make the entrance area where the doors are. So you can walk in either side, go forward to the steering house, or below decks or aft. And that would mean you remove the traffic from this area. So it'll be a low traffic area, and you can just sit and be comfortable without having to skip. It's not like I'm going to have 100 people on board. I'll probably get you see with 2 to 4, maximum 6 people. But it's just one of these little things. We'll see. I'll show you in the future, hopefully. This is below. This is, I guess, a panorama view. To try and give you a bit of perspective, the line on the center line of the boat is from really the corner of the photo here to the engine room. Now, this photo is very deceptive because it looks nice. It is not nice. It's very poor quality woodwork. Now, again, I feel bad. I'm not criticizing the previous owner. It took a lot of work for him to do it. I respect that. But this is not, marine grade by any chance. This is just compressed wood with linoleum. You got these steel handles, which you don't want to fall on, if you get knocked at sea. It's just not good. So this will all have to be stripped. You probably could live with some of this stuff, to be honest. It's like I'm using it at the moment. I stayed on the boat in the last trip and I appreciate it. But the big problem with all this stuff is it's insulated with spray foam. And I haven't checked the flammability, but you really shouldn't, first of all, insulate below the waterline, and he has. So you've got to at least bring it up below, above the waterline. And I need to do some research, but the risk of insulating a boat is you get water trapped between the insulation and the hull, and it rusts from the inside out. Okay. And the other one is fire. So the way he's done it, he's got spray foam, and then he's covered it with plywood, and then he's fiberglassed it. So to get into there, I hacked away with a knife and a screwdriver and managed to get one layer off, but it's too slow. So I used an angle grinder to cut through it. But you can the gases and the burning smell from the spray foam was just awful. So even if it's not flammable, just the gases if you have a fire could be disabling. So I need to remove all this. take it back to the steel, check how well it's been painted and rebuild it. So again, this will be probably one of the last things I do, because if you get into ship carpentry, it's very, very expensive. And I'll have to look around. Maybe I take it to Poland or to Turkey or somewhere where the labor rates are a bit cheaper and the work is good. But we'll see. We'll see. Like Dutch carpentry is amazing. I've never really worked with British ship carpentry, but I assume, you know, they're good. So, you know, we'll get to that later, the pretty comfortable stuff. And the other one too here is I can't stand up. I'm always bent over. And the reason for that is you've got like the steel girders below the floor, and he's put like about an inch of wood, or half an inch of wood on top of that, and then the floor paneling. What I'm used to is you build your floor panels and they sit between the girders, right? You always got some sort of raised section, but basically you've got plywood on wood. And so I could probably get half an inch from the floor. And then on the roof, he's lowered the roof below, again, the girders. I don't know why. He's got quite thick insulation. I think he's done it, but you've even got a gap between the roof and the insulation. And, you know, wires are only so thick, you don't need it. I just don't know why he did it. I think they were a lot shorter than me. So at the moment, it's hugely uncomfortable. I can't stand up, and my back, you know, is not what it used to be. So, you know, again, I need to replace this, you know, get the roof up and the floor down. And this floor is all screwed in. And that's not a good idea. You need access to under the floors, right? So if you're at sea, the last thing you want to do is have to look for a screwdriver to unscrew things if you've got a problem. So the prop shaft runs under the floor here. And again, plywood is probably safe, don't get me wrong, but you've got a moving part. So you need good, solid flooring that's not going to move, not going to break, right? And is accessible. So we'll look at that. There's a bunch of reasons. The layout, again, you've got a lot of seating here. You've got a seating area on the right. You've got a seating area on the left. I'm not sure what the thinking was. Behind this seat, you've got where he wanted the ladder. You've got a cooling. So I need to do my own designs, and I think I'll work with a designer here. So the kitchen will come out, the bathroom will come out a bit wider. Maybe there's a cabin. I can get a cabin in here because I want the living areas above, and below it'll just be mainly for cooking, sleeping. So we'll see. That'll be a future adventure for the boat. So another view, same area from another view. So here, that's where he wanted the ladder. Behind here, the boat comes in, you know, quite steep, or it thins out pretty quickly. So that's a consideration. But, you know, behind here, there's just a cool box, really. And one of the big issues I need to face is this rear bulkhead. So he moved it forward. So I was really confused because the original plan, it seemed to be further back, but I didn't know it was me. But yes, got confirmed it moved forward. And the local welder refused to work with him because he did one job and he spent, like, you know, said it should be a 2-hour job. It took all day because he spent all his time removing bad welds. So a couple of questions here. Is it welded well? And is the structural integrity still in place? Because, you know, bulkheads shouldn't be structural, really. I mean, it's got to take, you know, separate the water, but they can be structural. They don't have to be, but they can be. So I don't know if this is a structural bulkhead or not, and he's just cut it out. So I'm worried about rust. I'm worried about, you know, the structural integrity, whatever, you know. And it does have a rear cabin, which I'll show you. It should be coming up. That's the rear cabin. And I don't know how usable it is, to be honest. The bed's not huge. And this could be a really great storage area. I'm not sure. So one of the big expenses I might have to bite the bullet on is to either reset the bulkhead in its current position, or put it back to its original position. And then that will really affect the cabin layout, because if it goes back to its original position, I probably don't have enough room for a rear cabin. I might be able to put some bunks along the side. I'm not sure. But if I move it back, I might be able to put a cabin below in this corner here. So we'll see. So again, I need to think about the layout, but the structural integrity, the safety and the function of the boat will come first. Right, rear cabin. So again, you've got your anchor, your rudder post behind here. Again, it's all screwed in. You didn't have access to it. So I've removed all that. I've removed these doors. These doors don't even fit, you know, so I'm not sure what the thinking was. And they're on these hinges. So again, you know, if you were at sea and they ever came loose, you had got these big meter long flappy things, and they were damn heavy as well. So they've been removed. The nice thing when I removed it, I've got two massive hydraulic rams on the rudder. So there's no reason why I shouldn't have very comfortable, safe steering. But unfortunately, as I mentioned before, the hydraulic lines for the steering are probably too thin. So we'll take a look at that and replace it. Yeah, so just not so usable. And the other one I haven't really pointed out, you see these white panels here. These are electric plugs. There are so much 240 volt plugs on the boat. It's insane. And again, I feel like I'm criticizing the owner. Like, his boat, he can do what he wants. But a lot of this just has to be removed. And one of the crazy things in the back cabin was these two small dots you can see on the rear wall. They're like solenoids. And the idea was you got two solenoids there, you got two solenoids below, that they could press a button and the bed would raise up, right? But to put these solenoids in place, they've drilled through like this structural element here, which doesn't sound like a good idea. I mean, it's a thick boat. I think it's going to survive, but it's just, you know, crazy stuff. And you've got speakers in the ceiling. You've got, I don't know, just so many USB ports and plugs. I just don't know what the plan was, why you need so many. And one of the safety concerns I've got at the moment is there's so much 240 volt through the boat that, you know, we started removing some of it. We actually blew the shore power fuse when we're doing that. Like, I was safe. We had, you know, the fuse I was working on. I don't really understand it, but we kicked back a charge back to the shore power and blew the shore power. But you know, all that just too much 240. There's no electrolysis to date, thank God. But that 240 volt, it wasn't plugged into shore power, so you know they weren't using it. But if this stuff is all on and running, maybe we kick off some serious electrolysis. I don't know, but I just really want to simplify that electrical system a lot. Again, it has to be functional, but there's no reason to have all of this stuff on the boat. You know, it's not a mansion. It's a boat that goes to sea that you've got to be comfortable on. That's it. Right, enough ranting about electrical. This is a forward cabin. To be honest, he did a pretty good job here. This is where I'm sleeping, on this bunk. It's surprisingly comfortable. Oh, excuse me. This light through this combing, so it's a plastic thing, so you do actually get enough natural light there. All of these doors, I didn't really mention it, but all of these bulkhead doors he put in. I believe before there were no doors between the compartments apart from to the engine room. So that's actually a nice feature. I will give points for that. So you can actually walk through the boat end to end, and then through here there's a bit of surprise I'll talk about in a second. But this is big, but again, there's a lot of wasted space in the center of the room. So I'm actually thinking about making this the master cabin. Obviously, you're not going to be able to use it in rough sea. The front of the boat is the worst place to sleep. But, you know, unfortunately with boats, a lot of the time you are not at sea. So in port, it will be fine. And then at sea, you know, sleep in one of the bunks back, and you know, usually you 4 hours on, 4 hours off. So you're not, you know, you just got to have a place to raise your head. So this is okay. So maybe it could be like a double bed and a couch, and you know, like I need a desk, a workspace as well. So that'll be fine. There are some curious features here, which maybe is for another video. So again, put in a watertight bulkhead, drilled through the bulkhead to put a TV screen up. Again, don't really understand the logic there, but that's gone now. Forward through this, you've got a bathroom. I'm not sure, there's some photos. Yeah, some photos here. So this is through the forward bulkhead here. And the crazy thing about this is you can't close the door when you're inside the bathroom unless you're literally got your legs over the toilet or you're standing on the toilet. And it just seems a bit of a poor design because behind this door, you've got standing room. So if they put the toilet on the other side and they put the hand basin this side, you could have like walked in and closed the door. But that said, I think I'm going to remove this. At the moment, I can't see any holding tank forward, and you basically got a pipe which runs below the floor. At least they put it up over the water line before they went back down and through the through hole fitting. But it's a little bit unusable. And again, you know, you're not going to have too many crew on board. We can survive with one toilet. Maybe I should separate the toilet from the shower because that can obviously be somebody's in the shower, you need the toilet. That can be a problem. But again, you're not taking showers at sea usually. So that's, you know, if you're in port, you can just run to the marina toilets. All these small issues to think about on a boat, right? So I'm thinking about actually just removing this completely, and then through this small hatch, you've got the anchor room, whatever you call it, which again, you know, is not really accessible through here. So you do have, yeah. So I think this will all just be ripped out, simplify it completely, and I don't have a place to store my rope. She's a big boat, you know, you need 20, 30, 50 meter boats under Swiss regulations. I need a 100-meter tow rope on board somewhere. So I need a place to store this sort of stuff. So, you know, maybe the operations is, you know, when you go out to sea, you drop the ropes through that hatch, and this can become a rope locker, which could be quite nice. So we move forward. You know, again, we're there. So that's pretty much the tour of the boat. I've sort of gone on a bit, sort of lost track of time at the moment. Maybe you two can tell me. So I think maybe I'll leave it there for now. Thanks, guys, very much for watching and for your commentary. I think I got 5 viewers on the stream, which I'm very, very happy about. Like I said, it's not necessarily quantity, it's for quality. And I really appreciate that. And as we get going, I will try and be better organized and trying to learn. Just at the moment, as a closing comment, I'm completely overwhelmed in life, right? So my life is I'm coding 3 or 4 hours a day, the new app. I still have to consult. I've got clients, which is great. That funds everything in my life. I've got the boat project, which again is overwhelming. There is so much detail I haven't got into yet, but we'll just get through it as we get through it. And then there's life on top of that. So I really appreciate everyone in the call. Carl, especially, I think I've called you out before. I really appreciate your advice on the engine, which has really been, you know, giving me some certainty. So I'll just wrap it up now. Say thank you. Hopefully I'll get to meet some of you guys one day, and it will be a pleasure to take you out for a trip. So let's keep in contact, and thank you so much for attending. Wish you guys a great evening. Good night.